It's Wake Up Worlds Groups Day 5. Group A is complete. G2 and Suning qualify into playoffs. Team Liquid are the first North American team eliminated from Worlds 2020. Is NA doomed? We'll check in with Tyler to see where his optimism level falls today.
Get over the wall, of course, Wonder. Going impact in trouble. Chain Lash will land as Yankos diving on in, but he might have been a little bit overextended as he is going to be taken down very quickly. Wild growth onto Core JJ to keep him alive, but there is the hijack onslaught in shadows, and I feel like the wallets are too heavy on the side of G2. 2 kills already, make it a double for Perkz now as Tactical is doing the best he can, but it is not going to quite be enough. Triple kill for Perkz, that's the ace, and this should be the game for G2. Hold on to Mickey, massive damage from Perkz though as Koala said, nope, this is not what I wanted. The Ignite was ticking down, but it's not make it just yet as he gets taken out by the passive of Yankos. Over the wall he goes. It's a double kill for the Lilia. Make that a triple. No, it's the Shen that steals it away.
Solid kill pickup, but in the meantime, Angel's absolutely styling, zooming, dashing left and right. Goes Golden, buys a bit more time, and now Mickey on the way out as he gets shut down before he can even dunk down on the opposition of the big GP ultimate. The Death Stouter landing right where it needs to go. Wonder, though, going into Death Form. Now a Zombie, now running forward. They have to burn everything to slow him down, to stop it. Hornfunk forced to flash out to safety. Angel potentially could be in trouble now. They've lost a lot here on the side of G2, but maybe, just maybe, they can find a fight back in their favor.
Day 11 of the World Championship is in the books, and we're here to break it all down. It's Wake Up Worlds. Welcome one, welcome all to Wake Up Worlds, our ESPN Esports League of Legends World Championship program. Tyler and I are here with you every single step of the way, every single day, until a world champion is crowned. Thank you very much for watching us on Twitch, on YouTube, on the ESPN app, and on Twitter. And if you are an NA fan, well, consider this your safe space support group. Are we going to be able to get through the show, Tyler? Can we make it? We can make it, right? We can do it.
Yeah. I mean, it could have gone a lot worse, Arda. It could have gone a lot worse. It was a day of, it was bittersweet. I think the best word I can say about this day was bittersweet. I think you come out of this day as a North American League of Legends fan, if you are one, and you're proud of what you saw. You're excited about the possibility of some of the future of this team, Team Liquid. But you're also going to be thinking about some opportunities that got away from you. There were some very, very clear opportunities that are going to haunt not only the fans, but more importantly, the players. Because I feel like what they showed today and what they showed in some of these games and some of their drafting and level ones, this could have been a team that could have made top 8 and could have been a tough out in the top 8. I'm not saying they could have made the semifinals or the finals, but this is a team that definitely could have made the top 8 and would have been a tough out for anyone in the top 8. So we're going to talk a lot about Team Liquid today, but it's a bittersweet day. It was a bittersweet day, fun day of games overall, lots of back and forth action, a lot of surprises, and 2 teams got out, and none of them are from North America. So 3 North American teams are now down to 2, TSM and FlyQuest. And hoo boy, I can't wait till my optimism chart later in the show because it's going to be a fun one.
I love asking you a question right off the top of the show because you basically do the entire rundown in your first answer. Now you know what's coming up in the show, everybody. Before we get to anything else, though, let's talk about the winner and runner-up. It was interesting at the end, of course. Suning ends up winning Group A. Didn't look like they would win Group A at all. G2 was certainly in the driver's seat for pretty much the entire day until we got to the tiebreaker, and then Suning pulls it off again. So let's talk about G2 and Suning in particular, Tyler, before we move on. What did you see from those 2 games that really led Suning to victory here? It may have been a little bit of a different story in both games, but at the end of the day, Suning was still the one that captured that first place position. And now G2, again, they are, once again, with great results that they've had in Worlds, they have never won a group. They've never won a group, always second place.
Back-to-back years where they were favored to make it out on the last day, we're steamrolling towards a first-place finish. Then they trip up the end, losing back-to-back games to the eventual first seed of the group. On Suning's side, I think for the first game, I think I don't think they trolled. I think there's a lot of social media right now, Twitch chat. Everyone's like, "Oh, they trolled to get NA out of there. They screwed around. They mucked things up just to kind of screw over NA." But it was a wonky draft. I think a lot of drafts in this group, Group A, out of every group I've seen so far, have had so many like insta loss in drafts where these level ones and how these drafts have interacted have really just kind of bulldozed everything. Where we've had about 3, 4, 5 games where after level 1 the game was essentially over, which is not the most fun League of Legends if you're on the other side or just as a neutral supporter. But for Suning, I really loved Bean today. Bean in the top lane, our new the Shy, the baby the Shy. He is very arrogant from his monocrystal starts to not taking a knight and teleport, I believe, into the top lane. Just wacky summoners, very over aggressive, just overconfident in his own skills, and he should be. And from what we saw today, why not be confident in your skills when you can do what you did today against Wonder, G2, and pretty much everyone except the Team Liquid game, where Team Liquid just planned out Suning very well. So Bean was my standout for Suning. He was excellent. Sordar, as always, just in terms of engage, he's almost second to none. Especially on his Bard, he's one of the best Bard players of all time. Just a godsend for that champion. But it was a team effort. Suning's a very smart and also a very dumb team at the same time. You could tell that they played extremely well for G2, and they knew what to look out for and how to play against a team that really loves to overextend. But they are also a team where they're up 10k gold, and they were feeding the beast that was Perks on Senna. So this is a very young team. It's a very inexperienced team outside of a few players, especially Sword Art in the bottom lane. So for me, it was a lot of the good things about Suning that came out today, but a lot of these worries that makes me feel like they're not the sturdiest number 1 seed. I think they come out as a number 1 seed that a lot of these number 2 seeds, like a JD Gaming especially, if you're JD Gaming in the Damn One group, you are salivating, hoping that you can get Suning. Obviously, looking back at the LPL results, I think most people would say JD Gaming are the better team over Suning. So Suning is a team with it's a very high ceiling and a very low floor for them. And today it was that high ceiling.
It's interesting you say that because some people might even say the same about G2, right? Like a lot of first seeds are probably hoping. Now, if you ask Perks, I don't think he necessarily cares if you saw the clip online, which team he ends up getting in the quarterfinals. But a lot of first seeds might be looking at G2 and saying, wow, we could definitely take this and game plan against it. What do you think?
Yes, if it's Group G2. If this G2 goes from groups into the best of 5s, and they do not upgrade, if they do not step up a level or 2, then yes, I think this team could get 3-0'd by a Damwon or TES, or even I think even like a Gen G, or even I think even Fnatic currently looks better than G2, and it really does come to the jungler. It's such a jungler-centric meta, and Selfmade just looks awesome right now, and Yankos has been hit or miss. This G2 team is head-scratching. They had almost no clean wins during the group stages, where yes, they had a very impressive win today versus Team Liquid, but again, the 2 Suning losses, the Machi game that could have gone really dicey if Machi was a bit more patient. Even going back to the first Suning game, which we called an instant classic, one of the best Worlds games of all times, that was a lot more of Mickey and Perks and Caps, and all the players having these individual outplays and kind of just outworking their way out of a box instead of them, kind of just being a better team than Suning, where that game just kind of came down to outplays and hero ball. And you saw that a lot today, where G2 tried to make these hero ball plays where Caps would try to go 1v2 and he would try to burst someone, or you would see a overextension of trying to grab a few more plates because they feel confident, even if they get, they see, 2 teleports coming at them or they get collapsed, they always feel like they can take the 2v3, the 2v4 and turn it around. But that's not often the case, especially when you're playing against high-level competition who are also very extremely mechanically skilled like Suning, where you have Bean and you have Angel and Sophom, obviously, who's one of the best junglers in the tournament. They really played recklessly, and they got bit. Sometimes most of the time in the LEC, that's not going to bite you when you're playing weaker teams. But when you're at Worlds against the best of the best, that's not going to work. Luckily for G2, I do think they have another level. They have a few more gears than what we've seen. If this G2 goes into the best of 5, they're going to get swept if they play a really good team. If they play DM1 or TS, I think it's a 3-0, 3-1. They do not have a chance. But if we see the real G2, if we see the G2 of last year, if we see the Jankos of old, the Jankos we know he can be, a cleaner, crisper, better drafting G2, I still think they're a team that against anyone, that includes DM1 and TES, they can beat them. I still have a lot of faith in G2 as a team overall. That mental fortitude you love to, harp on, Arda, this team has it. Mm-hmm. And I do think going into the quarterfinals, a week of rest, a week of prep, I think it's going to do them good. And I think we're going to see a lot better G2. It's the same thing that happened last year. They looked pretty whack at the end of the group stage last year when they lost to Griffin back-to-back games. They got into a series. They went to the quarterfinals against Damwon, a red hot Damwon, a Damwon that had smoked them in scrims over and over, and they won that series. And then they beat SKT and went to the final. So don't count out G2 just yet.
Yeah, I think that would be imprudent of people to count G2 out based on their previous performances, and also in instances in Group A, the way that they performed. I will mention that 75% of people picked G2 to win Group A. So those of us who did pick them in our ESPN League of Legends predictor, well, we're wrong. They did not win the group. But you can feel free to go to ESPN.com/League of Legends predictor and join us. If you have the ESPN Fantasy app, just click on the trophy, and you can join along all the way until the end when a world champion is crowned. It's completely free. You can invite your friends. You can create a custom group. You can battle against each other. It is a lot of fun. And now, Tyler, we focus our attention to Team Liquid. Once again, a team that goes 3-3 in groups.
And then
once again, a team that fails to qualify for playoffs. And once again, we ask the same questions that many NA fans ask every single time a team like Team Liquid, an NA team, exits the World Championship far too early for their liking. Before we get to all those questions, though, perhaps we should congregate and gather here today for a proper send-off to our dear and departed Team Liquid. Tyler, if I can give you a minute, can you please give us a proper eulogy for TL?
Oh, Team Liquid, how art you? So sweet, but so gone from us so early in this tournament. Top Die Impact himself on the Malphite in Plentiful Tanks, struck down at the old age of 87, finally defeated for the first time. Weeping, as the millions of dollars fall onto his casket. Broxah, at least he won a game on Lilia. The Lilia was not great until today. He won a game off Graves. That was really good. I was very glad to see that. Jensen, the international buff, was not, it wasn't enough for this tournament. So sad. Tactical. You push too far. You push too forward sometimes, but I do like your spunk, kid. You'll be better soon. This is an invaluable experience. And for Core JJ, the best player on this team, the MVP of the LCS, you deserve better. You're too damn good for our region, buddy. You're too damn good for NA. Let's just be real here. You're way too good for North America. You could still, you're one of the best players in the world. I think if anything we saw during these games today is that Core JJ is still one of the best supports in the entire world, and you could throw him on any team, JD Gaming, TES, DM1, and I think any of those teams would love to have him. He is still one of the most superstar supports we have in the entire world. So, Core JJ, thank you for being in our region, because if you were not, this would not have been a 3-3 team. So, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Team Liquid for the 2020 World Championship, you are dead to us.
And amen.
And amen.
And amen. Unfortunately for Jensen and TL, there will be no reincarnation for this team at Worlds. And now we need to talk about how we got to this position. Because Tyler, let's be fair, TL looked great today in many parts. They looked terrific. Unfortunately, fate was not in their hands, but we have to give them credit. They won. They got stomped against G2. Okay, let's be fair. They got soundly defeated against G2 in that rematch, but then they defeated Machi and they defeated Suning in impressive fashion. And when NA fans were watching those two games, that hope was building, man.
Dominant.
Like in that moment, we were like, okay, this is what we wanted to see, especially when they beat Suning. It was like, this is a team we can get behind. And remember, this was the team that we all got behind, or many people in NA got behind on paper before Worlds even started.
Yeah, a tiebreaker versus Suning would have been exciting, especially when we just talked about it. Suning is a team that does prep well, and they're very mechanically gifted, but they're young, and they can get nervy, and they can play too far forward. We saw that with Youngfang in the tiebreaker versus G2 on his Ashe, where he was far too forward so many times, and he got caught so many times. And obviously, that didn't kill Suning because they were so far ahead, but there was these moments where Suning did play a bit too risky, a bit too far forward. If it was a do or die match to stay inside the tournament, those stakes heightened so far more, where Team Liquid and these level ones they were pulling out that were taking the fight to these teams and basically saying, Core JJ is better than you, and he is going to find the perfect engage, and we are going to get first blood and get our jungler rolling, and get Broxah rolling. I wish we could have seen that tiebreaker. Usually, I would have been very forlorn and very scared of what we and I have seen from North American tiebreaker versus an LPL team at Worlds, especially when we looked back at last year when IG just mollywopped Team Liquid across the floor, and I had to watch it live. And man, that was a bloody battering that I had to witness with the Shy kind of just flame horizon impact in like the first 10 minutes. It was bad. But that would have been a very eventful, and I think Team Liquid could have gone in very confident, especially after those two victories. And then G2 lost. And I think a lot of people are going to look at that and say, G2 screwed NA. Oh, man, like it's unfair. North America should have had that chance. Like, why couldn't have G2, drafted something better? And obviously, I mauled it. I got a bit salty. I'm like, I know G2 can play better than what they did, and not, especially the first game. I mean, the second game, a lot closer, but the first game where they just got destroyed, I mauled it. I was like, they could play better, but it's not G2's fault. G2 earned the right to play whatever composition they wanted because they beat Machi. Suning was allotted the same, a freedom to play around with their compositions because they beat Machi in both of their games. This tournament, this entire group stage, it's going to go back to that first game, that first day, when I told you, Arda, one of the most embarrassing losses in North American League of Legends history, when Team Liquid got rolled over by Machi, a team that self-proclaimed did not believe they would win a game in this group. They thought they were going to go 0-6, but Team Liquid was fast asleep at the wheel, didn't do anything, played far too passive, just let Machi roll over them, and they dropped a game to a team they shouldn't have. We saw today, Team Liquid, in probably the biggest blowout of the entire tournament, just smacked around Machi from the level 1 to the end of the game around 25 minutes. It was not close. So it all goes back to that first game where that one game is going to haunt Team Liquid. It's not going to be the games that they lost to G2. They went 1-1 with G2 and 1-1 with Suning. But when it came down to it, you have to 2-0 Machi, the weakest team in the group, the team that thought they would go 0-6, and that is what's going to be lingering with them forever. Because past Team Liquid teams, they usually lost to the top teams. They would get destroyed by IG. They would get destroyed by KT Rolster. They would take care of business against the weak teams, but they would look so outmatched against the top teams. What makes this like failing, this third place feel so bittersweet and so melancholy is that they played the best teams well. They had blowout victories versus Suning. They dominated G2 in one of these games. Yes, you can talk about draft all you want, but they outdrafted these teams. That's impressive in itself. And it's something where it's like they could have done something. Where in the past you could say, like, yeah, they were just weaker than these teams. They weren't up to snuff. They couldn't touch, KT or IG. They beat Suning. They beat G2. It's that one loss versus Machi that's going to just hold them back, where they played much better after those first 2 games, where they were proactive. They were enabling Broxah. They were fighting for those level 1s. They were invading. They were taking their own destiny in their own hands, and they were enabling what makes them great. And it's Core JJ is their best player. When you can believe in Core JJ to set up those engages, and they were just so better in the latter half of this tournament, where the week 2 NA meme is they are actually a lot better in week 2. So that Machi, the Machi loss is going to sting for them the most. It's not the G2 losing to Suning. G2 earned that right by beating Machi twice. They had to just hope, and the hope went sideways. And I don't think G2 threw that for any matter of fact. I think they really did want to just get the first seed, because who doesn't want to get the first seed? But man, that Machi.
I think it's fun to meme that. Obviously it's social media content. It's funny, completely understand. But I don't buy any team throwing a game, especially at a world championship. If G2 had won that game, they would have automatically been the first seed. So that, I just don't see that being the case. I will say, just a quick sidebar here, for Machi, good for them that they were able to get a victory like that. I mean, that is an important victory for them.
Yes.
It's just like you said, they didn't think that they would have anyone. Draft or not, even looking beyond the draft, and TL didn't have the best draft in that game where they lost, but still, it doesn't matter. What matters is they got a victory, and TL got it back in the end. But we always thought, Tyler, that Machi would be the 4th place team in this group, and they ended up being the 4th place team, but it wasn't without at least a little bit of pride coming their way.
No, there's a lot of credit to Machi, and again, it's a situation where, yes, Team Liquid should be kicking themselves, and it should be a game that they look back on, but it's similar to when Team Liquid upset IG at MSI semifinals, right? Where, IG has to be kicking themselves that they lost to Team Liquid, and that was their chance to, win back-to-back international titles, and that, they should have been Team Liquid, but they didn't. And Team Liquid planned for them that day. Team Liquid played at a 10. Invictus Gaming played it at a 5 or 6, and Team Liquid took advantage. And that's not taking anything away from Team Liquid. We should always be proud of that victory for Team Liquid. It's probably the best victory we've ever had in North American history, alongside the Cloud9 3-0 versus Africa from the 2018 Worlds. And very similar here, where Team Liquid should be kicking themselves. They should be mad at themselves. They should be saying, we are good enough to make top 8. We should have pushed this We should have pushed this to 20 tiebreakers. We are at the level of G2 in Suning. We can fight with these guys. Maybe they're better than us. Maybe they're better, and we would still have finished third in a long tiebreaker. But they felt like they were on the same plane as those guys, and I think they earned it by going 1-1. But Machi, well deserved. They took advantage of a sleeping Team Liquid, and it wasn't something where Team Liquid just kind of gave the game away. It was Machi taking the game for themselves. Gemini and Mission in that game just destroyed their opposition, where Gemini was far more active than Broxah, and Mission was up 30-40 CS on Syndra against Jensen and made him irrelevant. So for Machi, I think this might be the only victory for PCS throughout the entire tournament. I don't have high hopes for PSG Talon tomorrow versus Damwon, Rogue, and JD Gaming, which is such a killer group. So
still winner storyline wise in my books, especially from the play-ins. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
So let's move on now and talk about what happens next for Team Liquid. As you can see, they failed to make it out of groups. Another 3-3 record, another plane ride home after the group stage. And now we look at Team Liquid as we start to, as Team Liquid fans at least, start to think about free agency and what can happen with this team. And you have to start with the contracts and which players are expiring. And we have that for you, actually. Many of the players are on expiring contracts at the end of this season, which is now the end of TL's season, including the top half of the map. Impact, Broxah, and Jensen are all expiring contracts as of November 17th. free agency. Now, Tactical is up on until 2021. Core JJ signed until 2022. Of course, anything can happen. There could be trades, whatever. But when you look at this, Tyler, when you look at the expiring contracts, do you feel like this is, from an economic standpoint and a contractual standpoint, maybe this is an optimal situation? Because if a lot of people were to move pieces on TL, I don't think the bot lane would be the first place they look.
No, bot lane, unless you're a buffoon, stays the same. You don't touch Tactical and Core JJ. Just from how potent they look after just half a year together as a full-time bottom lane, to go against guys like Perks and Hongfeng and Sordar and Mickey X and look like you belong. A Tactical is a player that you want to build around, especially with Core JJ. You don't touch those two. That's the future of the team right there. Hopefully, if there's a more 80 carry focused meta in the future, you could see more of those two kind of being the centerpieces. Right now, it's a jungle meta, but those two, don't touch them. They're too far. They're far too good. As I said, we're lucky to have Core JJ in North America, and we're lucky to have a prospect like Tactical, who played. He had mistakes. He had a few mishaps, but he played far too forward sometimes. He got killed when he probably shouldn't have, and he got caught out. But I'd rather take someone like that who would go for the plays, go for the flash plays, play for the kill over playing far too safe and just kind of getting rolled over and just losing in lane and losing in the entire map. So those two, don't touch them. Jensen, I really don't see a better option. I don't think you move Jensen. I don't think if you're going to move any of these three players, I'm sure Jensen's going to have a lot of offers. That might be the only reason why he would move, is because there's more teams that want Jensen. But he has a track record of always showing up at Worlds and MSI finalists, World semifinalists. Hard worker, someone who wants to win. He is someone who, at this tournament, didn't look out of place against anyone. He had games where he stomped. He had a game where he stomped Caps. He's an excellent player. He is one of the best LCS players of all time. So if Jensen wants to stay and you can find the right contract length and salary, you go for it. I think if you're looking at I actually think overall Team Liquid, if I was the GM, I'd more than likely to stay with these five and just roll it back for one more year. I think this team these guys have only been playing together as this starting five for half a year, and look how far they went. They did as well as any other Team Liquid team in the past, with a new coach, with new bottom lane, Broxah finally assimilating in North America. If you're going to change something, though, I would say either it's Broxah or Impact. I don't know, but I don't know how you upgrade, right? If Steve wants to pay, $2 million, $3 million to go get Naguri from Damwon, and he wants to go just go, hey, let's do this, then sure. If you want to get but I don't think you import anyone unless it's a S tier, top of their game, top 10 player at their role kind of guy. Alfari, maybe, but I think the visa issues and the pandemic makes it so difficult to make moves right now. So I think right now for me as a GM, I would say go in with these five. I like all five players. Brox's champion pool is always going to be talked about and bounded about, but they proved a lot today, and I think they proved a lot, and I think we haven't seen all of it yet. I think this leaves us wanting more, right? Where in a world where they do get that tiebreaker, Arda, and they go in Suning, and they lose to Suning, I think it's a lot easier to make changes in the mind of a fan, in the mind of someone, an analyst, right? Where it's okay, they went 3-3, they lost the tiebreaker, they could get it done when it counts. But because they didn't get that tiebreaker, there's always that what if of this team had two dominating victories in a row. They slapped around Suning in one game. They dunked on Machi, the biggest blowout in the entire tournament, in the next, and then that's the end of their tournament. 3-3, they end on the high note. And it's you're left wanting more. You want that encore performance. And I kind of want to see more of them. I want to see how far they can go as a team, because I don't think we've seen the peak of this team yet. I do think that I do want more, youth incorporated around the LCS. But for Team Liquid, for a team that is already well set up with Core JJ as a cornerstone for the next 2 years, I don't think this is a team that necessarily has to go to the youth movement. And I don't think there's any young prospects right now at the top lane or jungle that you can necessarily bring in, especially from their academy system, that are better than Broxah or Impact. And I think both of those players are sturdy enough, especially Impact, where I don't think any world tournament or any international tournament they're going to be kind of blown out by.
Maybe they look to Oceania.
I
Maybe,
mean, there's
maybe we're talking Team Liquid Tapoon or Team Liquid Babip, Team Liquid Tally. How does that sound? They look at Legacy Esports and they say, hey, maybe we'll make some deals and bring some players across since they're resident. They count as residents starting next season. I wonder. I actually wonder. I know this is off topic, but I wonder if Papa Smithy had inside information. I wonder if he knew this was coming, so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna load up on some of the Australian players, and then when they become residents, I can go get other 200 IQ move. Like he is Nostradamus. He is a winner out of that Australia announcement.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many players that got upgraded from that Australian announcement, like FPI, Fudge, everyone. But no, I don't think there's any easy move here for Team Liquid unless Steve Moneybags opens up and says, I want Naguri. I'm going to make Naguri happen. I'm going to get the visa in place somehow to get Naguri. He's the only player that I see on the market of the like import market where I think that's like that's an upgrade. That's an upgrade that changes Team Liquid's value significantly, right? Where you're bringing in a top 10 maybe world player who's a free agent. And then you have, Core JJ and Naguri as your cornerstone, but that's like fantasy booking, right?
Sure.
More than likely,
which we don't shy away from on this.
Yeah. Or we like fantasy booking, but I think the smart action is to look for some young talent in academy, have them play behind Broxah and Impact, and try to build for the next. Sign those guys to one more 1 year contract and try to. Have a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation, right, where you're breeding the next generation. Because I don't think there's anyone right now in their academy system that you can just prop into those spots.
So
I think you need to give a year for just like tactical and double lift, where you want a young understudy to learn from two really experienced players and learn from them. That's what I want to see from Team Liquid, where they get two young players, teenage 18, 19, 20. Inexperienced players to learn from two, legendary finalists who are, know everything but the jungle and top lane role.
It's fascinating that we're talking like this about Team Liquid, right? Because you look at it from an entire year, they just came off 4 straight split victories. They bring in Broxah as what they believe to be an upgrade over Xmithy, right? Like many people were pointing to Xmithy as the reason why they didn't get out of groups at Worlds 2019, whether that is correct or not. Xmithy was labeled to be one of the problems, if not the major problem, by many people. And so Broxah comes in, visa issues, couldn't join the team on time. Spring split is a failure. It's a bust. They make changes again. Here comes tactical. And then coaching staff. That's one area I hope remains the same. I believe Jat deserves a full year in 2021 to right to this ship for Team Liquid. It was a very impressive summer split considering what happened in spring. And for all intents and purposes, Jat was one coin essentially turning the other way away from making it out of groups. So I do hope that the coaching staff remains the same. And so it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about this in the off season. And a lot of the points that you just made, Tyler, are going to be brought up again and again. But it's just, in Broxah in particular, remember how we were talking about him 8 months ago, right? On the free agency show. And now look at the way we're speaking about Broxah and saying, well, maybe he's a liability. It's like the jungle position is cursed with TL, it seems, at Worlds.
Yeah, I think it was more so. Again, it's another instance of a North American team importing a player on their downturn, right? We don't often bring over players still at their peak level, peak rate, their peak condition. Where again, that's why I say if you're going to go import for Chovy, go import for Naguri. That's why I've said so many times I respect what Evil Genius did last year, where they said we're just going to go for Chovy. We're going to offer him a multi-million-dollar deal, and we want to get one of the best players in the world at their peak condition at 18 years of age, and we want to build around him for the next 5 to 10 years. And I respected that, where it's a thing of you're trying to get an import player at their peak value, where for North America, it's been so often where we try to take players who are on the downswing and try to prop them up as they're still, gods of the game like they were a year or two prior. So I like Broxah. I think Broxah is a really smart player. I think he had a decent tournament. But I think the last thing I want to say on this topic is I wonder what Jensen does. Because obviously I think Team Liquid would want Jensen back. But we saw Jensen leave Cloud9 after the 2018 World Championship because he felt like that was the peak that his team could reach. He thought that the World Semifinals was as far as he could go with that team. He went to Team Liquid because he thought he could go farther. He thought he could go a bit higher. He made the MSI Finals with Team Liquid. Now at this time, his contract is up. I think he's at a crossroads where I think he has to survey the land. I think he will go and sign up the team he feels he has the best chance to win a world championship with. And
regardless of region,
I would believe he would want to stay in North America. I would believe if he could find a team that could, give him hope that he could, be the first North American world champion. I think he would want to stay in North America. But who knows? He is European. We're in a global pandemic. If he wants to go home and play for an LEC team, if he feels like that would give him the best chance to be a world champion, I wouldn't rule it out because Jensen's a very, very dedicated and zeroed-in player where his ultimate life goal is to win the Summoners Cup, and he will do anything possible to make that happen. So I think it's very interesting. I think Team Liquid will want him back. I think it's up to Jensen to think, is this the place where I think I can go farther than I did last year and the year before? Because he's already made an MSI final and a World Semifinal. Domestic titles aren't very important anymore to him. He's done that. He's finally conquered that goal. I think he wants international glory, and if he doesn't feel like he can get that on Team Liquid, I'm sure he would be looking elsewhere because he's going to be a hot commodity on the free agent market in a few weeks.
I can't wait to talk free agency as we go along and more teams are eliminated, but that's a conversation for another day. Perhaps you have heard the dumpster truck in the background, whether it's my window or Tyler's window. It doesn't matter. It's
quite sad.
Thank you for picking up on my reference there, because now it's time to ask about Tyler's NA optimism, and I believe that dumpster truck sound is very appropriate for the number Tyler's about to give us. So, Tyler, TSM and FlyQuest have yet to play and determine their fate, but Team Liquid, the way that they were eliminated from groups in Group A today at the 2020 League of Legends World Championship, how appropriate is the dumpster truck sound to your number? Where are we?
We've done it. We've done it. We're at a 4, Arda. We're at a 4. And by a 4, I mean... At a 4, I mean we're at a -4, buddy. We've cratered. We've gone below 0. We have gone to new lows. We are literally dumpster diving. We have gone the farthest that any optimistic chart has ever gone. We've gone to a -4, and I will back up my -4 here, where I was at a 1 with Team Liquid because I thought that was our best chance in North America of making it to the playoffs, with 10 being one team from NA making the playoffs. That's always been the top of my optimism chart, where I believe one team can make it out. Now we are left with FlyQuest, who I think have played quite well, but they're in an exceedingly difficult group, a much harder group, in my opinion, than the Team Liquid group, where I think DRX and especially TES are a bit cut above currently than G2 and Sydney. I think G2 overall can be right up there with TES. I just don't think this current G2 form is really reflecting that. But they have to beat DRX twice. Not once, but twice, and have other factors work into it. Because I don't think they're beating TS, and more than likely they would have to beat DRX twice on a day to make it to top 8. And beating them once is going to be difficult. Beating them twice is going to be nearly impossible. So I think there's a slight smidge of a chance there, but FlyQuest is going to have to play the best games of their lives that day for that to happen. And they even have to beat Unicorns of Love, which they barely did the first time. So not a lot of trust in there. And then TSM, all TSM has to do is win 1 game in a row, 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row, and then win more than likely a 4th game, a tiebreaker in a row to make it out. They cannot lose a single game. They have to go 3-0 and then win a tiebreaker to make it out of groups. They have to win 4 straight games in a group they've already lost 3 times in a few games where they've been blown out by and kind of looked outclassed. So -4. I feel I'm already at the point where I'm already like scripting my Damwon fandom. Like I'm already like moving away from North America. I'm already on the Damwon hype wagon. You'll see a lot more tweets of me being like, "Are they the greatest team ever? Like could this be the greatest team of all time? Like, oh, Naguri, look at him. He's so great. He's such an excellent top laner. He's the Smeb revived in a new form, like Showmaker. Like, you're gonna see a lot more of that as the days go on, because my belief in North America right now is at its lowest it's been. It's kind of a weird stage. I'm not sad. It's more an acceptance stage where I feel like these two teams are going to give a good fight. I do not see a way where they make the top 8.
You're like the parent that tells his child, "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed," and it just crushes them more than if you were mad. Just a very sad state of affairs is what it is. So I look forward to changing the NA Optimism chart on Monday, Tyler, to the Damwon Optimism chart.
Oh yeah, that's the new chart. Is the Damwon? Oh man, if I have a Damwon Optimism chart, we're going through the roof. But
I'm at a 27.
I'm at 27. But for right now, at the North American stage, -4. I think it feels right that for Team Liquid's exit day, I'm at a 4, a -4 at that. But they were my chance, Arda, and I really did believe after they beat Suning that Magic could be in the air. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. And that Machi game, man. That Machi game.
Yeah, that's the one we will remember for sure. What else will we remember as we get to our final thoughts? Anything that we haven't talked about on the show? Anything you want to, before we get to that, though, we should talk about headlines because we do have a lot to get to.
We have another group tomorrow. Worlds.
We do. You know what? I was so sad. I was caught in the moment. I was just so sad of NA. I didn't even want to talk about. And luckily, NA is not playing tomorrow, so we get a reprieve.
Thank God.
Yeah, we get a little bit of a reprieve. What will tomorrow's headline be for you, Tyler?
Mine is Damwon again and again and again. Damwon is the best team at the 2020 World Championship, closely followed by TES. If those two teams are not on the same side of the bracket, and if G2 does not wake up, I believe that will be our final. I think it's going to be TES versus Damwon. I think Damwon tomorrow, again, makes a statement known that they are on the road to being maybe one of the best teams of all time. I think they come in tomorrow and they destroy all 3 teams just like they did in round 1. I include JD Gaming into that list. I think we see 3 stomps. And I think we're going to get – tomorrow when the show opens, it's going to be a 15-minute show where all we do is talk about how dang good Damwon is because they are scary. They have so many styles they can play, and they are a team that has regularly had almost no holes in their game by the 17-20 minute mark. At that 17 to 20 minute mark, the mid game, they're almost like always up 5 to 10K goals so far. So I think they are a head and shoulders above everyone in the group, and that includes JD Gaming, who I think are very, very good and probably the 3rd or 4th best team in the world. But Damwon is at another level. And I think the narrative of could they be one of the all-time greats will begin tomorrow after they 6-0 their group, and they do it in dominating, no doubt about it, fashion.
My headline is just simply a sigh, just and that's more directed to NA fans that now realize that the non-NA group is over and they're going to have to look forward to TSM and FlyQuest probably sputtering out of groups, but hopefully not. There's still a chip in a chair, people. I don't even know. Like, how do I keep the optimism going when you're at a -4? I just don't know. I can't do this on my own, Tyler. I can't be the sole beacon of NA hope.
We're at the point
I don't want to accept. I don't want to accept it.
We're at the point now where it's like we look forward to like the good quarterfinals games. It's like, ooh, we might get to see G2 versus TES or like a G2 versus, Fnatic series in the court. Like there's a lot of exciting League of Legends coming up. I think every year around groups we get sad that North America failed, but then we're heaped up with even better quarterfinal matches. We get excited about that. And I think you look at TSM and you FlyQuest and you say, good luck. And I think you watch them hoping, but you don't get too attached because I think those two teams have such a hard road to make it, and especially TSM, where if TSM somehow makes it out of groups, it's the greatest achievement ever at Worlds. It far exceeds the Fnatic 03 comeback, because they did that in a group of Immortals and Gigabyte Marines, where TSM would have to do against Fnatic, LGD Gaming, and Gen G. It's not going to happen. I wish it could happen. It would be a great movie. Disney would love to license that, but I don't see it. So -4, Arda. -4.
Any final thoughts?
I just want to say, like, I want to.
Wait. Let the dumpster truck noise sink in there, just for everyone to really hammer down the -4. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. What's your final thought?
I want to say Team Liquid should be. I think Team Liquid should leave Shanghai with their heads held high. I think they could have easily toppled, and they could have easily shrunken in the moment and just kind of tapped out after the G2 loss, and just said, let's just lose this. Let's just get this over with. Lost to Suning, probably beat Machi, got out of there with a 2-4 record, and just left without giving it a big try. But they fought their hearts out. And for G2, I just want to say that they lost to Suning, and they lost to them twice, but I honestly don't think those guys would in any sort of form ever try to troll or int or try to do anything that would take away from, another team not doing well at Worlds. Those guys are respectable. They're warriors. They're competitors, and they play wonky drafts all the time. That's kind of their style. I think they're always going to try something new, and they're always going to try something different. And I'm sure North American fans might be a bit upset by that. I was a bit upset by that, but no hate or criticism should go by those guys at all. They deserve to make it out of the groups. They earned the right to play whatever composition they wanted. And I think they are a team that's going to show us a lot better play in the quarterfinals, because I believe in this G2 team, and I think they are the West's best hope of any sort of success at the 2020 World Championship. So good luck to Carlos and boys.
Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will be with you tomorrow through Sunday as groups conclude, but we will be with you every step of the way until the world champion is crowned right here. Thanks for watching us on Twitch, YouTube, the ESPN app, and on Twitter. We'll see you tomorrow.
So bittersweet. So bittersweet.